Hey guys, today I will be showing you how to replace the broken screen on an iPhone 5C. You guys need to remember that there are 4 different models of iPhone 5. The first one being the iPhone 5th generation, which is the one that came out previous to this one. It has a blue or white backing and it has the same home button as this one. Then this one is being the iPhone 5C. The iPhone 5C all have different color backings, starting with green, blue, pink, and white. And then we have the iPhone 5S, which is commonly known for the fingerprint recognition on the home button. Now we have a newly released iPhone 5 SE. Like I said, it's newly released, so you'll be able to tell the difference for that one. So we are working on the iPhone 5C. Now the first thing that you got to take care of is your workstation. You want to make sure that it's organized and clean. You want to stay away from any rugs, any tablecloths, anything that could cause static electricity, as we are trying to avoid any damages done to your device. Next is your tools. Now the tools that you see here are included inside of your kit. We are only showing the ones that will be used for this repair. Starting here, we have a pencil-up screwdriver. This screwdriver is used to remove both of the screws located by the charging port and mainly only used for that. Next, we have a Phillips head screwdriver. This screwdriver is used for all the removal process of all the screws inside of the device. Next, we have a plastic spudger. This spudger will be used to disconnect the cables inside the device safely. Here we have a pair of tweezers, which are used to pick up any small components like screws that might fall inside of the device. Or for an instance, we have one screw that is non-magnetic, which will also be picking up with these pretty much. Next, we have some suction cup pliers. These pliers are used to separate the screen from the device itself after we remove both of the screws on the bottom by the charging port. These pliers are extremely handy and very easy to use. Next, we have this decal here, which will be placed on the front of your display, like so, to avoid any kind of injury like cutting ourselves, since we are working with broken glass, and to help the suction that will be created with the suction cups over here. Finally, on this side, we have this box. Now, this box is the box where our entire kit came in. We will be using it to place all of our screws, small parts inside of it. Basically, you guys are going to be creating a map. If you have a pen or a marker handy, you guys could write notes around your screws to ensure that you place all the screws in the corresponding location. Now, the first step in the repair process is shutting off your device. Now, to shut off your device, you're going to press the power button for 5 seconds approximately until you actually have the shut off function, like right there. If your display is badly broken, that you cannot see image or you cannot use your touch, we're going to go ahead and reset the device. In order to do so, you're going to press your power button and your home button for 5 to 10 seconds until any lighting or image that you see disappear. Once you actually see it disappear, you have shut off your device. Do not press the power button after this, just to avoid the phone restarting. Now that we have shut off the device, we're going to go ahead and install our decal here. Remove the paper backing. And we're going to align this at the beginning of our display, right above the home button, like so. And then we're going to use our plastic spudger to guide above the decal to have a bubble-free install. After we have done so, we're going to go ahead and remove both of the screws by the charging port using our pencil-up screwdriver. Now, every single time that we remove a screw, we're going to be placing it inside of our box to ensure that we know exactly where they belong and to make sure that we don't lose any of them. Now, this will be the perfect time for you guys to get your pen or marker, if you do have one handy, and write a little note. Circle these 2 screws together and say by charging port. Just write yourself a little note that will help you remember where these screws belong. Okay, now that we have removed both of the screws, we're going to go ahead and use our pliers here to separate the screen from the device. But keep in mind that the screen is still attached to the device with the flex cable connections. So make sure that you just pry this open and leave it like so, as we're going to get to the part where we're going to disconnect them shortly. Now align the suction cups onto your screen right after the beginning of your decal. Firmly press on the suction cups to create the suction you needed, and then firmly press on your handles to separate the screen, like so. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove our pliers from the device. Now we are able to lift up our screen to a 90-degree angle, and we are able to see the EMI shield, which will be removed right now. The cable connections are beneath this shield here. Now to remove this, we have 4 screws. Now the 2 on the bottom are actually the same size, but the ones on top differ from the rest. Now the one on the top right is non-magnetic. Reason for this is not to interfere with the compass on the device, and also this one is the longest screw out of all 4 of them. Second longest is the one on the top left. So make sure that these 2 go exactly where you remove them from. The 2 on the bottom, like I said, they're actually the same size, but again, we're going to make sure that we reinstall them exactly where we removed them from. Now let's go ahead and remove the screws now. I will be placing them in front of the camera just so you guys can see the size differences. Okay, moving on to the top left. Here's where you actually start seeing the difference in size. And finally, we have the top right. Go ahead and use the tweezers to pick this one up. Okay, as you guys can see, the difference in sizes are extremely different. So make sure that all the screws go back exactly where you removed them from. So we have the EMI shield here. We're going to be placing everything inside of the box now. The way that I'm going to keep track of these screws is I will be placing them right next to the hole that they were removed from, just so I could remember exactly where I will be placing them back after we start reinstalling the new screen. Like so. Okay, so we have removed the EMI shield. Now we are able to disconnect the cable connections coming from the screen. As you can see here, the first one here is your front camera. This one connects your front camera, your ear speaker, your front microphone, and your proximity sensor. So let's go ahead and disconnect this one using the tip of the spudger. We're going to insert it right beneath the cable and gently pry it up like so. Next is your LCD cable, which is the one right next to it. Same process underneath the cable and gently pry it up. And finally here we have the digitizer, which is your touch. Same process, gently insert it underneath. Easier if you come from the left side. And gently pry it up. Now we have disconnected all 3 cables and are able to remove our broken screen. Here we have our new screen. As you can see, it comes well packaged in this plastic protective packaging. This packaging protects the screen from any damages during shipping, and as you can see, it does have a cutout for the cables themselves. The reason for this is because the cables are extremely delicate. You do not want to bend these cables in any manner, as you run the risk of damaging them, breaking them pretty much. I do have an example of a cable that was bent, and as you can see, just by bending it, it fractured. Now this screen seems perfect, but because of this cable being bent and fractured, the screen no longer works. So let's keep in mind that you cannot bend the cables because you do not want to damage your new screen. Now comparing both of the screens, this being the one that we removed and the new one, as you can see, they already come with the home button pre-installed, and on the back of them they come with everything else. Starting up here, we have the front camera, ear speaker, the shield for those. Then we have the thermal backing shield for the back of your screen, the backing shield for your home button, the plastic button which you saw from the front of the display, and the cable flex for the home button itself. Let's go ahead and place our broken screen aside and begin installing the new screen. Now, to install the new screen, you're going to align the cable connections onto the device, onto the connectors pretty much. We're going to start with the digitizer, which is the first one that you will connect. Place it above the socket Move it side to side, up and down until you feel it drop in place, and then gently press down, followed by the LCD. Once you connect the first cable, the second one should be extremely easy to align. But again, move side to side until you feel it drop in position, and then gently press down. Finally, here we have the front facing camera. This one is not as rigid as the other two, so it tends to be a little bit more difficult to connect. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. Place it on top, align it, feel it drop, and then gently press down until you feel or hear that click. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate my device. Now we're gonna go ahead and install the EMI shield. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up, place it on top of the cables. I have both of the screw holes aligned on the bottom, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick up one of those screws. I'm gonna go ahead and pinch the screw in between my fingers and align it onto the tip of the screwdriver. When you are reinstalling the screws, guys, keep in mind that you do not want to over tighten these. So when you feel the screwdriver stops turning, that's as far as you're gonna go. Now here we have the second screw, same thing. Go ahead and pinch it in between your fingers, align it on the tip, and install it. Now the one on the top left, same thing. Remember that the one on the top left is longer than the ones on the bottom, so make sure that that one goes back exactly where you removed it from. Now here we have the last screw, which is the longest one. It is non-magnetic, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the tweezers to pick it up, place it where it belongs, and then using my screwdriver, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it. Again, keeping in mind that I do not want to strip these, so once the screwdriver stops turning, that's as far as you go. Now let's go ahead and seal our device. You're gonna go ahead and insert the screen in an angle, making sure that it's nice and flush on the top. Press down on it so it doesn't move out of place. Give it some tension from the bottom towards the top, and then guide the sides onto your device. Once your whole display is nice and flush, we're going to go ahead and install both of the pencil loop screws on the bottom of your device, placing both of them in at the same time, and tightening both of them. Again, don't over tighten these, don't strip them. If you were to strip these, it'll be extremely difficult to gain access to this device, so keep that in mind. Now that we have installed both of the screws, let's go ahead and boot the device. Make sure that everything works properly. At home, you guys are going to be testing your front-facing camera, your ear speaker, your front microphone, and the proximity sensor. So in order to do that, you guys can make a phone call. Make sure you hear the person on the other side. If your display shuts off when you're in a phone call, that means that your proximity sensor is working. And then the front microphone, you could test it with a voice memo or in FaceTime. Then the home button is the next thing that you will test. Just press on it, make sure that it clicks nice, and then the function itself works. So go ahead and shut off the device, press it, make sure that my screen turns back on. Now let's go ahead and test our touch. You're going to go ahead and press any of the icons until it's the function that allows you to move the applications. They start moving and jiggling around. Pick one up, move it all over your screen to make sure that it follows your finger every step of the way. Hit the home button to exit that function, and if everything is working fine, you will be done. If you guys do have any white lines, any white squares on your display, this means that you might have a faulty connection. So make sure that you double check the connections, open your device, remove the EMI shield, make sure that all the connections are done properly, and then retest your screen. If everything was done well, you have successfully repaired an iPhone 5C. But before we go, guys, let's help protect our planet. Let's recycle this screen. Let's place it in the protective plastic that it came in, the new one, inside of the box that the new one came in as well. And finally, we will be placing the box in the kit and shipping it back using the envelope provided. Just drop it off in the nearest post office or in the nearest mailbox. So that's it for the video, guys. Thank you.